This time last year, streamer Nickmercs was making headlines for his very inflammatory comments about how the whole pride movement should just leave kids alone. He ended up losing his operator skin in Call of Duty, and he had a couple of other turncoat streamers, just say, oh, he can't be associated with his toxic behavior. And when we were discussing this stuff, it's like, for as completely banal as his statements, correct in its own right, you had to think that this guy was probably holding back a little bit more than what he was letting on. And lo and behold, here we are a year later, and yeah, no, he's as based as we all thought he was. And this 22 seconds is definitely making the rounds right now, and to all be completely honest, no lies detected.
Nick, the transphobe struggling against the trans game. There's no such thing as trans people. That's something that you created. So have fun with your little dreamland, but that's just not even real. Let me break it down for you, right? Penis, dude. Vagina, girl. Done. Come in here with that fucking
I mean, like, my guy's not wrong. He's not wrong at all whatsoever. Okay, a little bit strongly worded this time around as opposed to the 2023 version. It's almost like he stuck his toe in the pool last year, figured out that, oh yeah, no, it's actually all fine in here, and that, yeah, I've got that FU money, and you can take your political correctness and shove it straight up your ass. There's no such thing as trans people. It's kind of strange, right? Because outside of the confines of the terminally online crowd, you don't really see them out there in public. Okay, like, I could be completely and totally out of the way. I'm not in a big city or anything like that. Grand Prairie is it's got a service area of 100,000 people, but there's 50,000 people that live in the city proper. So yeah, there's a good chance that there's two of them. They're probably in the college. Here's the thing, man. Trans people, actual trans people, don't run around telling you about how important it is to them that they're trans. They just simply want to live their life. If they're a guy, they want to become a girl, vice versa, right? They don't need to run around, with their special little pins telling you how special they are because the government enforces a right to exist, unless, of course, that government is conservative or Republican. Then there's the literal genocide going on, guys, when in actuality it's the most protected class in the world. I mean, who else has their flag emboldened and emblazoned on every single crosswalk in every single major metropolitan? And if you dare drive over it, you could get slapped with a hefty fine or jail time. So yeah, man, we might have to wait for that breakdown next year from Nickmercs, but I'll just give it to you straight right now because, of course, that ends up being what happens. But Nickmercs doubles down, months after an accusation of transphobia. I've said my piece. Well, yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. You want to say transphobia? Doesn't really sound like he's scared of trans people. Kind of sounds like, once again, it's projection more than anything else. Kick and Twitch streamer Nickmercs is once again making waves on social media for making transphobic remarks on one of his streams. No, he was being pretty trans-realistic. Popular Call of Duty player isn't backing down during one of his streams of Elden Ring. Okay, Nickmercs read aloud a comment calling him a transphobe. Well, he's struggling with one of the game's bosses. Nickmercs responded by saying there's no such thing as trans people. Yeah, we played the clip because hell's bells, I couldn't break it down any better. But the controversial comments don't end there, as Nickmercs responded to the backlash in a subsequent stream. Oh, really? The streamer gave a profanity-laced response about how he does not care about the backlash and he stands by what he believes. Bravo, man. I don't care about the percentages or cuts or whatever. It doesn't bother me. I feel a certain way about all of that. And I've said my piece. Exactly. I guess he let you in on a little bit of a glimpse, and this guy is a relatively new father. I think his child is under 5 years of age, and yeah, guess what? He's the leader of a nuclear family. Something that, those trans people that are out there are actually phobic of, because there's nothing that they hate more than a functional family, because, well, they probably wouldn't be trans people if they had a functional family. Because, yeah, if you've been pestered by these freaks for the better part of the year, because these comments come 1 year after Nickmercs made similar remarks, right? They should leave little kids alone. That's the real issue. That was what ended up triggering them so much. Who actually sounds like they're scared of the other person, okay? A fringe group of self-mutilating weirdos, or a dude playing video games with a giant following? I'm just wondering, man, who ends up coming across as more scared, okay? And I'm so glad, man. Like, I talked about video games quite a bit recently, and I think it's for very good reason, because the space, the perception of it, okay, definitely the developers, the creatives, quote-unquote creatives at the top, especially in the AAA sense, they're really pathetic. They're gross individuals with even worse personal politics that they feel encumbered and emboldened to simply tell you about their every opinion. But the moment that one of their prominent players wants to push back, well, he needs to be silenced, he needs to be canceled. But in actuality, the player base, the gamers themselves, kind of side with Nickmercs as opposed to the freaks. And that's why, yes, bringing this stuff to light, talking about it as loud as possible, as from as many avenues as available, that's why that's far more important than just simply letting the freak shows run the asylum. And that's something else that another prominent streamer has also come to the conclusion of. Asmongold suggests that Nickmercs' latest transphobic comments are extremely common. Yeah, because everybody's tired of this shit. Okay, like trans people, if you're out there, you just go ahead and be trans. Gay people, if you're out there, go ahead and be gay. We don't really care, just as long as you don't hurt anybody else and you don't make it the central characteristic about yourself. Because guess what? I like women. I like women of all shapes, most shapes and sizes, okay? I have what I like that I think is attractive, and I like to do with those attractive women what I see fit, whatever they agree to, okay? Guess what? I don't make that my central characteristic, okay? I don't lead off every conversation by saying, well, as a choking enthusiast, as a hair-pulling Canadian, No. I don't lead with any of that crap. Because it's not important. It's the most boring feature of yourself. And if that's all you have to lead with, well, guess what? I don't want to have a conversation with you. You probably suck. That's what Asmongold is talking about right here. Asmongold has waded into the controversy around further transphobic statements made by fellow streamer Nickmercs this week, adding to the turbulent online discussion by claiming the under 5 stars views are extremely common. Yeah, exactly. Because I would say in general, most people get them off camera and you just ask them, it's like, what do you think about this stuff? You never get this interview, these questions, or these answers rather, are never going to see the light of day. What do you think about all this gay stuff? It's like, I don't really care. That's probably what you'd get from the end point of this, all the way up to, yeah, a much more biblical holy text version about how we need to, deal with a certain agenda. They're trying to answer the gay question in the most final means available. Twitch streamer Asmongold always reacts to different events in the streaming sphere, and in one of his recent streams in mid-June played the clip of Nickmercs, where his streamer outright stated there's no such thing as trans people. Nickmercs has had a long history of making similar comments. I think 2 instances, and that being one of them, is not necessarily long, but I guess a line can be long if it only has 2 points. Now Asmongold is throwing his hat into the ring, and while it wasn't exactly the defense the kick-based star, he did suggest that things are not so clear-cut. Well, yeah, exactly. Asmongold noted in a response video that many of the replies to Nick's latest posts on X were in support of the streamer. Well, yeah, of course. He then added that he believes the majority of people share the same opinion and that they can't say this on social media, before doubling down on his line of thinking. Just because you can't say something on social media doesn't mean that people don't think it. Well, yeah, exactly. On top of his thoughts about the general public's view on transphobia. Again, is it really transphobia? We need to really dissect these words, guys. Asmongold also alluded to Nick's prior cancellation, stating that this may have influenced his beliefs. Well, yeah, exactly. I think that if this hasn't happened to Nick, Asmongold stated, as he kept watching, Nick probably wouldn't be as outspoken as he is. Exactly. Twitch star even quoted XQC, oh my god, okay, who previously stated that allies can become enemies over even the smallest of outrages. The claims made by Asmongold and his suggestions around how many people think like Nickmercs have immediately been met with further backlash by, yes, the terminally ill freaks online. That's all who cares about this stuff, man. Because then imagine, okay, if Nickmercs came across like an actual trans person, okay, do you think that he'd just go in and go, you're not real, you're not... But to be fair, I don't know the guy, but he also seems reasonable. But yeah, if they aren't out there going, I'm trans, you gotta accept me for who I am, okay? Probably just go on and live his life. Probably wouldn't even take a second look at you, like most people. Like, you probably know a gay, you probably know a lesbian, you probably know a bisexual. Outside of that, the rest of that stupid spectrum, nobody like that exists outside of the confines of social media, so you're probably safe there. You know what? 95% of them just want to live their life. It's kind of like people who are more liberally minded, more conservatively minded. They just want to live their life. They might have minor disagreements on certain policies, but in general, we all want what's best for society at large. It's just the freaks at the outlying edges that have the loudest microphone, that scream the loudest, that morons clinging to power use in order to try to appear as virtuous as possible. This is where we're at this point in time. So yeah, Asmongold's correct in his assessment that, you know what, a lot of people, they might just be scared to say it, but they do think along the same lines as Nickmercs. And Nickmercs in general, the boy's not wrong. 2 years running, most correct Call of Duty streamer I know. Then again, don't know very many. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.